Hello, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I hope you're well and the weather's treating you well wherever you are. Today we're going to do this page for our journals. If you can remember, in the introductory video I went through this and explained that it is actually patchwork made up of seven hexagons hand sewn together, placed on a backing fabric and then embellished. Now this is what we're going to do this afternoon. Now bear in mind that these are all examples or samples for you to try out for other projects that we will be trying later on in another course. This is just the beginners course, so anybody who's just joining who thinks, oh my goodness, I need to explain occasionally, this is a beginner's course in slow stitch. Now having said that, let's start. Oh, first of all, I'll just explain briefly what we will be using in this afternoon's lesson. We'll be using, as you can see, patchwork, that goes without saying, feather stitch, maybe some beads, some applique. We'll be appliquing hand embroidered pieces for embellishment, buttonholes, of course running stitch, that goes without saying, herringbone, maybe some blanket stitch, maybe some couching. So there isn't a great deal to it, although it does look as if it could be quite intricate. Believe me, it isn't. These are all things now that you have used. Even the French knots, you haven't actually tried them, but we're about to do that now. The blanket stitch, I can't remember if we tried that. I'll have to look back at our samples. But let's make a start, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. Oh, and we will be using a pinwheel. So I'll move this out of the way and bring in the big guns. Right, now the patchwork made up, I'm not doing a hexagonal one. I've decided to use the triangles. As you can see, I'm using red and green, very Christmassy for June, so it's an early start. Now there are two ways of doing this on the background fabric. You can make it up traditionally, right sides together, running stitch, all the way around, right sides together, running stitch, until you end up with something like this. Another way of doing it is to actually place the pieces on the background calico and tack them down, or you can actually do the small running stitches. If you do the small running stitches, they can stay and become part of the design. The tacking will be taken out. Now there's one problem with doing it this way, and this is spacing. You need to work out exactly how to place these evenly, otherwise you'll end up with what happened here. The spacing was all wonky, so I've had to trim this one quite a lot to fit it in. Now it doesn't really matter, it doesn't notice unless you have a really keen eye, so somebody will notice it, but to be honest, who cares really? That's not what we're about. We're about design, enjoying it, trying out stitches and enjoying the process of slow stitch. So having said that, a little bit of a lecture going on, lecture finished, we're now going to set about enjoying it. Now what have I done? I'll just stick these out of the way for a moment. Now to save time, I've decided to have my things prepared and not fussy cut, and not waste time placing things here, there and everywhere. It's wasting your time, and time's precious when you're eager to get on and sew. So I've even labelled this is for French knots. So first of all, we are going to try the French knots. So as I explained in the last video, there's nothing hard about these whatsoever. There's no deep mystery. People seem to be scared of doing these. I can understand it. I remember trying a French knot, and it was awful. It was awful. Now, if you want a nice thick French knot, use the thread double, okay? But wool is nice and thick, I don't need to. So hold that down, that thread down there, and with the needle, twist the needle. Now, it's easier to twist the needle than it is to twist the thread. So needle, nice blunt needle, because we're using Hessian. 1, 2, oh, would you believe it? And I wasn't even pulling hard on that. Never mind. Let's try that again. So in from the back. I'll hold that knot down with the back finger. Hold that thread down. Twist it. 1, 2, 3. Now you can actually twist it as many times as you like, always a minimum of twice, but whatever, if you want a nice textured effect, then you just go on twisting until you get what you want. There you go, French knot. Now, French knots are nicer when they're all grouped together. 1, 2, 3. In through the same hole, the hole that you came out of, back in. See? Nothing to it. So we'll do another one. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Now that will give a lovely texture. Let's just try it 4. See how big you can go with. My 4 probably won't be that much bigger. Let's try 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoa, this is going to be difficult to put back into the hole. Back into the hole. And there you go. That's 6. Actually, I prefer the smaller ones. But depending on what you're filling in, where you're placing these, you might want a thicker one. So that is the French knot. So let's stick that over there. French knot out of the way. See how easy that was? And yet people tend to freak. Ah, I'm not doing a French knot. Now, because we're doing patchwork, I'm just going to show you how to do 2 pieces. And the 2 pieces, these are, as I said, are all side by side, just to form that star. So we want the points like this. Oops, oh, not on camera. We want the points like this, pointing out, right sides together. So now you've got shape like that, okay? And we're going to just do a small running stitch. Now you can do a small blanket stitch, you can do a small over sew, but for the purpose of this, a small running stitch is going to be fine. And of course, if you make 2 of these stars and sew them together, you have a nice star for the Christmas tree. Or nice, if you stuff them, leave a little opening, stuff them with some fibre, you have a nice pincushion. All sorts of things you can do with these. So look, oh yeah, I thought you might have seen it better on this side, maybe not. So just a small little running stitch. As I said, don't worry about knots. Some things have to be knotted, and this is one of them, because you don't want that undoing. That's it. Snip that off. Oops, left a bit of a loop there, doesn't matter. And there you go. Stick that around the bag. And there you go, the first 2 points of your star, and you would just carry on all the way round. So that's the little bit of patchwork done. Ooh, we're racing ahead with these now. So put that there, and I put those over there with the samples. So you're quite au fait now, as the French say. You're au fait now with French knots, and what was the stitch we did? Oh, and this, what am I on? French knots and the patchwork. So let's make a start on this immediately. Once again, we have the Calico Background. Right, now I've put these in order. Calico Background, usual size, 8 by 5.5. I'm just going to check that. 5.5 by 8. I'm sure somewhere along the line we did one that was 5 by 8. Oh, excuse me. So, Calico Background fabric. This fabric I've taken out of the bit box. It's gorgeous, and it's even torn. There's a little tear there, but that isn't going to notice, so that's not a problem. It's hard to know which way to use this because it's so lovely either way. Can you pick up? Yeah, the camera's picking up the shine because it's trying to focus on the areas of light. Now that, I believe, is the front, and that is the back. You know what, I'm really not sure. I think we've had this trouble before with this fabric, but I'm not going to use that. I want to use this. So if it's the back, which I think it is, I'm using the back of the fabric. So that is lovely. I'm going to place the star in the center like this. Not even going to hold it down. This is felt. Now you don't have to use felt. You can use whatever fabric you have in your bit box, bigger bits than that, but I have bigger bits than this in my bit box, in my rag bag. You can use whatever you like. It just happens that I didn't plan on using this, but I found an old needlework bag, and as I looked in there I thought, oh my goodness, I wonder where all that felt got to. I know what I'll do with that. So here it is. So we're going to put that down. No, we're not, I think. Now I was on 2 minds whether, no, you can't see that. Now to give it a little bit of added interest, I'm going to place just that piece of lace underneath. Once again, yeah, that is the right side, but it really wouldn't matter if it wasn't. I'm going to put that there, I think. Put that there. How's that looking on the screen? Yeah, that's okay. Not too bad at all. I wonder where that got to. Right, and these are for embellishments. All these things will go on the top at some point. Then I'm going to cover this with some netting. Now I don't know whether to have that offset. Oh yeah, that's better. Immediately like that. Maybe that's slightly offset. We don't want anything really matching edge to edge. We'd like a little bit of this lace showing through and a little bit of this netting overlapping different areas, overlapping the lace and overlapping the background. Let's pull this out slightly there, and we want some of this felt showing as well, but not much. Right, so I'm quite happy with that at the moment. Now what we could do is sew this all down at the same time. No, we won't. Now this, I'm going to pin a couple of pins in here just to hold it firm. One in the middle of the star. Bent pins, what have I done with these to bend them so much? One day I really will get round to sorting them out. Now I'm going to do a running stitch around this. All the way around, but around the edge of the star to hold all these layers in place. So a nice running stitch, nice long sharp needle. It makes it so much easier because you can do several stitches at the same time. There, look. Just pull that down a bit. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4 nice stitches at the same time, up to the point and turn round, and then again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches that time. 7 stitches, then there, once again, there you go, and it doesn't take very long at all. So that's the second one. Round again. Before you know it, lovely. You see why you need a nice pointed needle to go through all these layers of fabric. I mean, this fabric is quite soft anyway. It's felt, and as you saw, it's lace, and the furnishing fabric, which is very fine. At least I think it's furnishing fabric. It might even be dress fabric. I've no idea. Right. Right, the cuckoo is out of sync. It's actually 4 o'clock, well 4:05, because he doesn't chime or sing on the hour, and I think he's 5 chimes or cuckoos or whatever out. So he must have, if it's 4 o'clock now, he must have poked his little head out 9 times. My visitors get very confused, but told you the story about dropping it. So he's getting there now. He's actually closed up the gap from chiming at 20 past the hour, and now I can see on the clock it's now 16 minutes, 6 minutes past 16. So he's actually closing the gap quite a lot, but it's taken a good couple of years. Right, nearly there. Down here, this is just so addictive. You can really lose yourself in it. There we go. Tie it off at the back. Doesn't look too bad at the back either. It's a perfect star at the back, if you can see that. No, it's as big as it'll go. That perfect star. So that's that done. Right, take the pins out now because we don't need them. That's quite secure. Right, the next thing is I'm going to define this bit here, the rest of the star shape. You don't have to do this on yours, but I just think it looks nice. Once again, running stitch right the way over, from one side right across the middle to the other side, right across the center to the, oh, it's a bit thick there, to the other side. See how lovely it is just to do running stitch. There we go. Let's tie it off at the back, secure it. It's been raining out for hours now. I expect it's winter starting over here. We did have a lovely sunny day. I think it was 2 weeks ago. That must have been the summer, and now it's back to winter. It's funny though, I don't mind the rain. I suppose it's because this climate over here in the UK, it's something we just get used to, I suppose. Like some of you get used to the sun and the snow. I suppose we've just got used to lots of rain. But having said that, I do like the rain, and I love walking in the rain along the seashore, especially when the sea is a little bit on the rough side. I mean, I'd never walk on the beach. I mean, you don't hear of tsunamis in the UK, do you? But I have such a vivid imagination. I'm not putting myself in that sort of situation. Everybody laughs because you don't have big waves in England. You don't have them. But yeah, the weather is so freakish. Who knows what we'll be having. Right, so this has now defined the star. Now this is the important bit. So if you get this far, then you've almost done it. Right, this is what I call the bit that has to be done. And now you can relax and enjoy the rest of it, because it's all up to you and how you want to make your designs. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of these embellishments. I'm calling them embellishments, they're not quite that yet. This is from the vintage tablecloth, these, and I haven't dyed these. Sometimes I think these things look better undyed, and other times I think no, I'll just coffee dye them or food colour, put some food colouring on them. But I just fancy seeing some white. Right, there's one that might go there. You see this, I've taken it out, I've left some of the green stems and that. This won't be thrown, that will be put in my bit box. Now there's a large one here. The large one I'm not so sure about. I used a large one, I think, I used a large one on the sample one from my journal that I showed you earlier. But the samples in that journal, as you know by now, they're a lot bigger. The pages are a lot bigger than this. Actually, perhaps somewhere underneath. Yes, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure whether the yellow actually fits with the rest of the colours, but the white should. There's some white. Doesn't have to be perfectly round either. Yeah, white. Maybe, and another white. What a shame there isn't a different colour. And you can see these are lazy daisies, which are just single chain stitches in a circle, and they have a little bit of satin stitch in the center. Well, these two do, but that one looks as if it has a French knot, although maybe not. That one has French knots on it, so I might put those there and do some stitchery in between here. So how I will stitch these on, where are the rest of the pins? I'm going to just add to the stitches that are there, and I'm going to do straight stitch. Remember, straight stitch, it's just like satin stitch, but we're not placing them together. So here I'm going between, there are petals here. I think if I go between this, I'll do this one because I think the camera will pick it up better. Here from the back, between the petals there. Excuse me, that was my throat, it makes a funny noise sometimes. Around there. Now you could use any stitch you want to do this. You might want to do a running stitch around the edge or running through it, or you might want to do a blanket stitch. So cold here that I've put the heating up full blast up to 30 degrees. Close the windows. It's just such a grey day out there, but it is getting very hot now. I think I might have to turn it down. Right, so there we go, and that secured that. Straighten that out there, secure it at the back. Now I'll do that with the other two as well. And I shall add some buttons and a lazy, I will do a lazy daisy wheel. Let me just, if I do that, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'll go off and finish and I'll come back. Right, now if I can thread this, there. Oh, I've stranded it now. See, I have two sets of glass, well, three really, for different distances, but I tend to just live in these glasses because I like them. Right, no, that isn't any good. I have to cut this bit out. Right, so here I'm going to do a little pinwheel, and I want to really just mark around something to make sure I get it round. I think that might be too, yeah, that's far too big. Let's have a look at this. I think that might just be the job. Now I'm going to do it in this yellow, which won't really see. You won't see from a distance, but it will leave a faint mark that I can see. Oh, just about, so I'll have to do this quickly. And as we did, was it only yesterday we did these? Through there, and then little pinwheel all the way round. So it's a single chain, hold that down, back into the hole and round. There you go, another single chain, back into the hole and round. You can space them just as you wish, just as you like, what suits you. There, into the hole and round. I think this is taking on a bit of a square look, which isn't a good look for a wheel. Lovely. This bit is certainly thicker than the other bit. The other side, that lace, believe it or not, must make all the difference. Now I've twisted that a little bit. So let's go back here. Oh, goodness gracious. Pulled that just a little bit too tight there. So do be careful when you're making these not to pull too tight. This background fabric is so thick. I have to pull the, oh, I said that was easy. I have to pull the needle through. And don't forget, any mistakes are not really mistakes. You can disguise them later with a bead, a little bit of top stitching. And this is looking pretty gruesome at the moment, so it's going to need a lot of disguising. There we go, nearly there. So there we go, little pinwheel there. Right, just going to tidy up this edge here by running the needle. Take the needle up to the front, and I'm just going to weave in and out of there a little bit, just to give it a little bit of more definition on the shape. And here, this is the bit that got twisted up, so just going back into the top bit. Yeah, it's all an illusion, isn't it? And then back down, and it gives it the round shape. There, how's that for cheating? Still got one stitch there that's showing off a bit, so come back here, pick that little bit up there, and that's it. That will do. So that is the pinwheel. I shall add more to that, but what I'm going to do, I shall finish here. You've seen all the stitches that you need to see. You've seen the technique of fabric, background fabric on the calico, and then perhaps you might like a piece of lace or another piece of fabric for second piece of fabric, and then you're going to put down your patchwork piece and maybe a piece of lace on top, sew through the, sorry, it's not lace, it's netting on top, and sew through to secure all the fabrics, and you'll get the nice star shape. And then it's up to you how you embellish it. Now, very quickly, if you didn't want to do the patchwork sewing, what you could do is actually cut a star shape in a piece of fabric, and that will work just as well. You might not even want to put the star shape there. You might want to put another shape underneath. Whichever you want is up to you, and it's right. Okay, if it feels right for you, it's right. So I'm going to finish here, and I'm going to carry on. So I'll get back to you as soon as it's finished. So have a great day, great evening, afternoon, morning, and do take care, and I'll see you shortly. Bye bye. I'm back. It's almost as if I haven't been away. It's now 10:25, so that's how long it's taken. I think the last time I looked at the clock was just gone 4 o'clock. So I have stopped for about an hour or so, but that has been non-stop sewing. So it isn't something you can do quickly. It is definitely slow in every sense of the word, but it's just such fun to do. Now what I did here, I've added applique, lace applique here, and secured it with running stitch. You can see the running stitches here. I added the same here, embroidery on net, and secured that with running stitch. Here is just a detail of running stitch and cross stitch. The star, the patchwork star, has been gone round, highlighted if you like, with running stitch on the outside edge and on the inside edge, and then an extra line of running stitch around these buttons. The buttons have been secured. This one, that one, and that one have been secured over embroidered flowers, with a little bit of lace between the flower and the button. These are pinwheels. This one has had a little bit of weaving go around the center. That one has had the pinwheel stitch go through the buttonholes. Now this one I did earlier on the camera, and it was that little purple lilac coloured pinwheel that went wrong. Well, after I did this, I really didn't like that pinwheel, and I thought, well, I'm not taking it out, that's far too destructive. So I've done a larger pinwheel over it and put some beads halfway around it. And now you can't see the mistake. And that's what I mean, serendipity. I think that looks lovely. It wouldn't have looked like that if I hadn't made a mistake. Mind you, it might have looked better, but it's too late now to laugh. So carry on. There's feather stitch with some beads, more feather stitch there, and cross stitch and running stitch detail. This is a piece from the lace curtain that my partner gave me, and I've appliqued that down with large cross stitches and running stitch. More applique here and here, and the stitches I've used: running stitch, and oh, it's gone right out of my head, herringbone stitch. And here some appliqued flowers, manufactured flowers. I didn't embroider those, just as I didn't embroider this or this, manufactured. So I mean, good thing I didn't have to embroider those, because I would still be on the first piece of fabric here doing these little satin stitches. So the only stitches I've used, I should say, running, cross, feather, pinwheel, is there another one? There's another one, isn't there? I did some applique. I think I'm missing a stitch. So there are 4 types of stitches on this, and applique, patchwork, and that is it. Oh, and some beads, a little bit of beading as well. So that is the finished piece. Now I have actually put it down. I've secured it on the page with the sellotape for obvious reasons, because I made such a mess up of trying to find the end on a previous video that I thought it's best if I do that in private. And believe this or not, I did it first time. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 strips, 5, and I did it first time, no problem at all. She told a fib then. Anyway, that's that done. So that is page 6. The sewing is finished. Obviously, as I always say, the pages aren't actually finished yet. They haven't been dressed. So although the samples have done, we haven't finished dressing the page. I like that saying, it's not been dressed. Like a crab, isn't it? Dressed crab. So anyway, I'm going to sign off here. Let me just see if I can make that bigger. There, maybe you can see a bit more detail there before I go. This shape is my microphone, reflection of my microphone, because the light has totally changed now. Shadows are being cast everywhere. So anyway, I'm going now. Have a great day, and I'll be back very, very soon with page number, well, no, it's not page number, is it? It's with sample number 7. So I will see you very, very soon. Take care now. Bye bye.